Greetings, friends, and welcome to another episode of The Mistake Zone, your weekly dose of our lives and the mistakes within them. My name is Jaren Wade. Joining me, as always, one of my best friends in the whole wide world, Matt Alba. Hey, Matt.
Yo.
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
That's great. Matt, also joining us, one of our other best friends in the whole wide world, Rakush. Hey, Rakush.
Yo.
How are you doing?
I'm good, Jaren. I got a question for you. How many R's are in the greetings that you give us at the start of the episode?
Honestly, that's up to the listeners, all our friends out there, whatever they're feeling. Because, Matt, I don't believe our episodes are transcribed. At least we're not intentionally transcribing them. So it's whatever the universe wants to do with said R's in such greetings. But let's say at least, Matt, you've listened to greetings for a while now. How many R's do you think are in greetings?
Do you mean like the letter R? Or do you mean like R-A-R-E-R?
What?
Wait,
I'm hearing the word R.
Wait. This bit. I'm going to skip the middle bit, but I want to go with this bit and asking Matt how many R's are in how many R's you think are in the greetings when I say greetings.
If you were to write it out as though it were a script, I would guess like 5 to 7 R's.
Okay.
What did you actually mean, Rakush, if that's not what you meant?
I did. It's just you spelled out the word rare, and I'm not sure what you were trying to do with that.
Oh, I think I said R-A-R-E. Like R-A-R... God.
What?
This is audio garbage.
Okay. We'll pivot. I said the introduction. Rakush said...
I meant the word
We should leave
R.
this in. We should just leave this in.
I meant the word R. Like the word R-A-R-E. Like the and then I spelled it out so I understand why you think I spelled out rare.
Sure, let's just move on.
I don't know what's happening anymore. Are we redoing this? I feel like we should redo this.
No, we should just keep this in. I would say.
Oh man. Mistake Zone. Dandadan, episode 11. I feel like we still need to make mention of the episode before the finale, I believe. Rakush, since it is our tradition this season, we have a better introduction to Gigi, and we have more misunderstandings between Okaroon and Momo, where I know this is the second time the misunderstandings happened, the first one being a more Momo-centric episode, and arguably this one is more Okaroon-centric when it comes to the misunderstandings. So I know earlier this year when we talked about just the whole dynamics of Dandadan as a show in itself, where it is on paper, or at least based on the first episode, it is a shonen with a slice of life romance edge to it, or not necessarily edge, but component at the very least. And I feel personally, as the season has gone on, I've come to enjoy the slice of life, the romance angle a bit more, where even though, again, this is a misunderstanding episode, this is another trope that comes with the territory, and honestly, while it doesn't do anything new per se for the genre, I still like the character dynamics just because Momo and Okaroon, I do find just likable protagonists, and it does, it also helps that they're supported by such good supporting characters, in my opinion, from Ira to even Gigi to even Momo's friends in her classroom, where even though you have this not necessarily misconception, but this view of them being these popular kids, but the fact that you have her friends going to bat for Okaru, even at the slightest idea of someone going after Momo, I don't know, I've come to really appreciate the slice of life episodes a lot more than I really did. And based on the episode preview, I'm actually kind of surprised the season seems to be ending on a slice of life moment as opposed to one big shonen set piece. But Rakush, as we're staring down the lane into episode 12, the finale, kind of how are your thoughts with what the finale is shaping up to be?
I mean, yeah, I think I'm just gonna have to wait and see what they do with the finale and where they end it. It is a little bit of an awkward spot to end it, but no, I mean, I've been really happy with the series. I've been happy with how everything has been. The animation's been good for all episodes so far, 11, I think. Music's been great. Voice acting has been great. Feel like all the voice actors have captured the characters really nicely. Yeah, I think like Gigi's voice actor is kind of honestly how I always kind of imagine that voice being. So like that's been great. Yeah, the slice of life stuff is really nice. This episode was really hilarious because of just how elite the yearning was in this episode with the skeleton guy.
Yeah.
Or not the skeleton guy. What would you call him?
I wasn't a science kid. Matt, what are those, I guess, not necessarily the statues, but those models called?
Bionicles? What are you talking about?
No. It's like those models in school where like it's a human, but like half of them is like the innards of the human.
Oh, damn! These have a name. I don't know what the actual name is.
I wish I could remember it, but that's like one of my favorite characters.
It's an autonomy model, right?
Anatomy model, yeah, something like that. Yeah. It's just one of my favorite characters, mainly because of like how blatant the yearning is with this guy, and it's just great. Like I really liked all of that. I love like the wholesome nature of Okarun being absolutely a school kid and being like, she's better off if I leave her alone, and like that typical like high school shenanigans where like everything is more serious than it actually is. No, I think they've captured the essence very nicely in all of these things. Like it's all wholesome in its own way. So yeah, like I've really enjoyed it so far. This episode was another great one. And I'm still not sure where it ends, man. I'm kind of, confused.
Yeah, again, I quickly glanced at the previews, and it does seem like they're going to end off with whatever story they're trying to tell with this model, in addition to kind of Okarun coming to his feelings, where I am surprised that since I haven't read the manga, unless some big alien comes and they fight it at the last second, I think I'm okay with it ending on a more low-key, wholesome note rather than some big fight spectacle, for better or for worse. But Rakush, you brought up something that I wanted to kind of ask Matt about real quick. Matt, as someone who reads his fair share of manga, and when it finally gets a anime adaptation, Rakush said that he was okay with Gigi's voice actor, and that's pretty much how he thought that Gigi would sound in an anime adaptation. But Matt, how do you usually feel when a manga is adapted? And do you have a good hit record of, the voice actor they chose really great? Or do you find it a bit more, 50-50 in terms of will they execute on the voice you're expecting as a reader?
I mean, for the most part, I feel like they usually, will land on something that's very close to what I expected. I feel like right now, the only one I can really think of that didn't hit the way I wanted it to, and we discussed this on, Mistake Zone before, is Milim from Slime. Like, I just really didn't like the voice that they ended up picking for her, because in my head, I just imagined it different from what it actually was.
Fair. And before we leave the anime corner, Matt, I know saw the announcement, one of my favorite mangas, one that I've screenshotted you so much. See you at the food court tomorrow. Anime adaptation 2025. Now that we're talking
Yes.
about voice actresses and Seiyu, Matt,
Hmm.
do you have anyone in mind that you think could pull off one of the two lead characters for this adaptation?
Ooh. I honestly can't really think of anybody off the top of my head. I just know that I think I want what's her name? Wada?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want her to be someone not totally bratty, but somewhere in the realm of Konosuba's Aqua. Somewhere between like the Aqua and Megumin. Somewhere in between there.
I think that would be a good one for Wada. And when we get to Yamamoto, for Yamamoto's voice, I'm not sure what I'm kind of expecting there, just because I haven't really internalized anything. If But I'm assuming something more Big Sister like is kind of the vibe I'm
Oh.
getting.
I was thinking somebody more kind of like I guess maybe this does lean into Big Sister, but somebody who's a bit more like closed off, or kind of like the voice I'm imagining right now is what's her face, the blue haired girl from Bochi, Rio.
Oh, right, right. Oh, so you're someone a bit more ice cold, not necessarily ice cold,
Uh-huh.
but someone who does keep their distance. Okay. More direct. Yeah, I can kind of see that as well. But yeah, looking forward to that, and also looking forward to the finale of Dandadan, where surprised we were able to keep up with the weekly updates. But um, before we get into the main event, because boys, last week we celebrated with Mr. Keighley and his game awards. Gotta ask, since we jumped right into it, Rakush, what have you been up to this week?
Jaren, you want to hear the new way I found out I'm old this week?
You know I do.
You're familiar with a clothing brand called Diamond Supply Company?
Yes, I
Okay.
frequented a West 49 growing up as well.
There you go. You're a man of good taste, so you understand. Um,
Questionable, but okay.
I just heard someone call that vintage clothing recently.
Rakush,
What up, Jared?
I feel like, yes, that should be a reminder that you are old, because
Yeah.
Matt and I are also old, where it still trips me out the amount of essentially near the Mistake Zone HQ, there is a, more, I wouldn't say a higher end, but, one more streetwear adjacent um,
A
secondhand
little hype
store.
beasty kind of vintage
Yeah,
clothing
sort
store.
of.
Yeah.
And yeah, just seeing the amount of brands, like the skater brands specifically that I grew up with, that, get donated there in addition to, let's say, uh, a Bulls championship t-shirt from the
Always.
90s, which I would have gotten if it
Always
wasn't
has to have one.
small or and have some questionable stains on it as well. But
Dude, I feel
no,
like it's not a proper vintage clothing store if they don't have at least one Chicago Bulls championship or shirt.
they're good shirts. They're really
They're
good
good shirts,
shirts.
man. Any championship shirts from like that era, fantastic. And it's mostly Bulls because obviously
Yeah.
Jordan. But yeah, man,
Because
if they were
mostly,
in like $100 each, I would buy those.
but yeah, seeing Diamond, seeing, what else? World Industries Blind, all these, prominent brands that, line the windows of West 49, line the windows of skate shops, kind of in the vintage clothing racks right now, and also having price tags that, are pretty surprising. I don't know, boys. I don't know. Makes me feel some ways. But you know what also makes me feel some ways? When I went to another, secondhand thrifting shop, and I saw a bunch of Joe Fresh, like the
Oh
Loblaws
my god.
brand, Marvel shirts, where it really made it seem like someone just stole a bunch of shirts from their work and sold them to the store.
Amazing.
Where original tags, they're the Deadpool and Wolverine variant, and something shady was happening, in my opinion, allegedly.
Allegedly,
Allegedly.
allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah.
But Matt, how about you? Anything up Anything up with you this week? Any way you're feeling old?
I mean, no, not really. I think I'm feeling pretty youthful this week. I've been pretty good. I've been pretty good about it. Just spending money frivolously like a youth should be.
Show off.
Yeah, I've been fighting the urge to buy uh, PS5 just because with the whole tax things going on right now.
Ooh.
Mostly because to me that seems easier than buying an SSD and installing it into my PC.
Oh
But
Oh,
no.
you guys want to hear like a really sort of like skeevy marketing thing based on this GST HSD thing?
what's up?
I just got an email from Uber Eats where they're basically saying GST HSD holiday break on Uber Eats as if it's like a gift from them and not like a government mandate.
Hey man, Uber's going to Uber, and it's always those fees. Man, I hate Uber. Anyway, you
Yeah.
know what I You know what? I actually did enjoy it. As mentioned earlier, the Game Awards happened last week, and for this round of Mr. Keighley's Game Awards, I feel like last year and even the latest Summer Games Fest, to a lesser extent Gamescom opening night live, we haven't really seen anything kind of jaw dropping, mind blowing. And I know this is something you want to get into a bit later, Rakush, regarding the lead up to this year's Game Awards and all that online discourse, the rumors going on that there would be mainly two major announcements happening at this show. And, whenever that happens, your mileage will definitely vary, but pound for pound, I do think this was one of the more eventful, noteworthy Game Awards when it comes to the trailer side of things. And I know
Hmm.
here and there we're going to sprinkle discussions on some of the winners where we see fit. But Matt,
Hmm.
starting it off, what was what was the mind-blowing thing to you from this wave or this year's Game Awards?
Like what I think like was the
Yeah,
biggest
yeah.
biggest
What do
thing.
you think?
I mean, I think it was the announcement of Elden Ring Nightreign. I feel like that kind of came out of nowhere, especially with the announcement of hey, there's gonna be no more DLC for Elden Ring, even though this isn't an Elden Ring DLC.
Right. Jeff Keighley confirmed standalone title. This is or I feel like this is From Software's answer to all the seamless multiplayer mods that really helped breathe additional life into an already gigantic game.
Hmm.
And the moment that this was announced, just all my Elden, all my From friends, immediately excited to play a proper, without having to fidget around with mods, but a proper Elden Ring multiplayer experience where Matt,
Hmm.
this enough for you to jump back in for the Lands Between?
I mean, I'm interested in it. Like based on the stuff that's been put out about it, I am interested in seeing exactly how this basically like roguelike Elden Ring is gonna work.
Hmm. When it was initially unveiled, I was a bit surprised and I began to think how a game that is solely, focused on, not necessarily solely focused on multiplayer, but since it is such a large component, what does that do to boss design? What does that do to enemy design? Where, in normal Elden Ring, the more when you bring in a friend and if you bring in an NPC friend, that adds HP, that adds a more damage to the boss. Where is that the same route, or are they designing, attack patterns, weaknesses based on having multiple people? Where, as someone who would prefer to go about a Elden Ring experience alone, I'm just curious to see what
Hmm.
this does to boss design.
Jaren, I am, from what I understand, this game is like specifically multiplayer,
Hmm.
and I'm worried about letting the squad down.
Yes, I'm always worried about letting the squad down, but
Hmm.
Rakush, uh, co-op Elden Ring. I know you haven't necessarily discussed your thoughts on the From games on the Mistake Zone, But did this announcement do anything for you?
Um, it was a little bit confusing to be honest, because initial kind of watch, yeah, there was like some hints of there being multiplayer, but then like when I was talking to Matt while we were watching this, he said it had some gotcha elements, which I'm gonna get to in a second. I need to ask you guys about
That was
that.
wrong. That was wrong. I
So that's wrong.
misunderstood
Okay.
how that worked. Yeah.
Got it. So it was a little bit of a confusing reveal because I'm not fully immersed in like the From Software games. I love watching people play these games. It's not a game that I'm gonna pick up and play myself. So I am looking forward to watching others play this game as well. But I feel like they could have probably provided a little bit more information during the actual show itself.
For just Elden Ring,
I
or
think for Elden Ring. Yeah, sorry. I'm just sticking to that game specifically right now. It just, yeah, it just kind of felt like the trailer was there and feel like kind of had to piece or put the pieces together like outside of it, which I'm hearing new things even like as we're talking about it right now. And I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. Like, it's, it's this kind of game. It's that like, they're going to be doing something different with it. It's a standalone thing. So like, it's interesting. I am curious to see where they go with it. Jaren, you mentioned like, kind of balancing out the boss battles. I'm curious about that too. Because so much of Elden Ring and so much of like the Bloodborne games, every time I kind of like, watch people play it, there's so much like methodical sort of planning and stuff that goes into it. And unless you're speedrunning, that's a whole different beast. But everything is so plotted out and stuff like that. How is that going to work with like two people, three people, how many ever folks there are? So yeah, should be interesting.
yeah, fair. I think for me personally, with the announcement itself, the debut trailer, I think for the Game Award audience, while I agree that information was pretty sparse in the trailer itself, I think for the freaks out there, it gets the job done where, you see Elden Ring or From Software looking bosses, you see multiple people on screen, and I feel like that's enough for the audience that would be interested in it.
Yes, that's
Um,
fair.
where I think just even moments after the trailer debut, just a bunch of hands-on previews started just coming out from all these different outlets as well. But I think in terms of just building hype for a trailer, it got the job done, at least for me personally. And that's backed by all my friends going, so we're getting this right. We're all jumping in. Don't worry. You can sword and board while I actually play the game. And I thought, great, sounds good. But Rakush, for you personally, what was your mind-blowing announcement for the Game Awards?
Okay, so we're obviously going to get through a bunch of these things, but I think the most mind-blowing announcement might have been Onimusha. Not because I'm the most excited for it, but the fact that they're making a new Onimusha game does feel a little bit more mind-blowing than some of the other announcements.
Right. And
And
do you have any affinity for the Onimusha games, or?
only just like peripheral experiences, I guess, like, working at a video game shop kind of at like the tail end of the PS2 being a thing. It like the Onimusha games are obviously still like, on shelves. I think the last one that came out was for the Wii as well. So like kind of had enough of like a selling experience with it, but never like a first hand like playing the game sort of experience. It just wasn't one of those games that well, I didn't have a PS2 growing up, so I wouldn't really have jumped into it too much. But yeah, it's just like, I mean, I think it's cool to kind of see like if most of these big budget games are just going to be like reboots or like sequels to old franchises. It's nice to see some of like these more sort of like cult classics get this treatment as well. It's something that's been missing from like big budget titles to me personally for a very long time. So just kind of seeing these kind of announcements, it's nice.
And I don't want to be that guy, but once the Onimusha announcement came out and the discourse started taking over, what do you guys think about the notion of Onimusha in a post Sekiro world sees some inspiration from the From title?
As in like it could be inspired by Sekiro.
Yeah, do you think it will lift elements from what Sakura or even Ghost of Tsushima has done here, or do you think we'll see something more refined that we saw from the PS2 era?
I mean, personally, I kind of hope that it stays more towards the slashiness, I guess, of how I remember the earlier Onimusha games being.
Mhm.
Like, I really hope it doesn't move too far towards the Sekiro side of things. I wouldn't mind it, like, lifting stuff from, I guess, like, Ghost of Tsushima.
Right.
But I would really prefer it to stay more towards the kind of, like, slashy side of things rather than the more technical side of, moving towards, like, the Souls sort of style
Right.
of combat.
We're here to have fun. We're not here to sweat.
Sorry, Matt, when you say slashy, do you mean like hack and slash or just like as far as swordplay is concerned, that kind of slashy?
I mean, like, hack and slashy. Because, like, I know Onimusha wasn't, like, Devil May Cry level hack and slashy, but I wouldn't say that, like, if I had to categorize it, I'd categorize it closer to a slower Devil May Cry than a faster Dark
For sure.
Souls Sekiro sort of thing.
Yeah. No, I definitely I feel that. It's a little bit more arcadey as well. Like
Arcadey,
just
yes,
kind of,
that is
yeah.
the correct word, arcadey.
Is that even a word? I don't know.
I mean, I think
arcadey
it
is
is, like,
the sentiment. Yeah. I
Fair,
think I agree with you.
fair.
Like, I don't think every game needs to be the same. I think one of the biggest issues is, to me personally, is just how much like everything is going like an open world route. For example, it doesn't need to be that. Just make a curated experience. Make it true to what Onimusha used to be. Of course, modernize certain controls and certain mechanics and stuff like that. But I don't think it needs to go the route of like From Software-esque game.
Oh, what?
Fair.
I fully just forgot about Kunitsugami. It should just be the combat side of Kunitsugami.
Just more flushed out. Yeah. Yeah. I feel that. I feel that. But I think, well, I wouldn't, if I had to pick a mind-blowing announcement, aside from Elden Ring and Onimusha, I think for me, it would be the Okami sequel being announced towards the end of the show. And specifically, mention afterwards of, Kamiya returning to work on the title, and also the phrase, not the phrase, but the name Clover Studio being thrown around as well, where I think I do have a fondness for the Okami, and, if I had to admit it, I would hope that any new release would have a IGN logo watermark kind of hidden in the cover as well.
Oh, man.
But
Classic.
I think it's just this notion of, the idea of Clover coming back, having Kamiya come back, that invokes a weird nostalgia for me to that era of the GameCube, where what does that mean for that studio, for that developer, that studio moving forward? Does this mean we see a new Beautiful Joe? Where I think
Oh.
I don't want to say I'm less excited for Okami because I'm excited to get my hands on this, but I'm also either equally as excited or even more curious to see what this means for, this next era of Capcom moving forward. Because let's face it, Capcom hasn't missed in a while, where I feel like they have been the third-party publisher in between Monster Hunter, in between Street Fighter, in between Resident Evil, where they have consistently been releasing these high-quality games and still being able to experiment here and there. But again, when you invoke the name Clover Studios, that does something to me where I'm kind of excited, but I'm also, a part of me does feel a bit bummed because where Clover rises, that means not realistically, how long do you give Platinum Games existing?
I mean, Jaren, I'll be honest, I thought Platinum Games was dead already.
This might be the nail in the coffin, unfortunately. Rakush, Okami announcement, does it do anything for you?
I'm curious to see how they handle it. I'm curious to see what I think the art style is. What I'm most curious to see. I really like kind of like the sort of like presentation during the award show, but that was of course just like a teaser sort of cutscene itself. Would like to see something along those lines, but yeah, I mean, there's a there's a lot of high end technology to do anything they want at this point, right? With a game like this, so I just want to see what their imagination leads them to.
And Matt, as another youth in that Capcom, what was it, the Capcom 5, Capcom 6 era, what does the new Okami and the Return of Clover do for you?
To be honest, for me, it doesn't really do anything because I never really played the original Okami past like, kind of the opening of it. It was one of those games that I always thought, oh, I should go play this, and I think now that's the Okami sequel is giving me reason to go check it out.
Okay, I'm excited, but Matt, I think you're up to bat once again. What else from the Game Awards caught your attention?
I mean, I'm guessing now we're kind of just going to be going down the list of everything that was announced at the Game Awards.
Yep.
And if we're starting at the top, I think actually Rakush should be taking the first one for the Ninja Gaiden 8-bit kind of Metroidvania looking game.
So, okay. I'm generally not the biggest fan of difficult games, except for Metroidvania games. Like, that's one where I kind of personally just kind of dig the grind and I kind of just dig the sort of like trial and error process of figuring out like how to get past a certain section and stuff. This new Ninja Gaiden game is being created by the Blasphemous devs. I'm just gonna look up their name right quick here, but Game Kitchen. That's the studio, and I'm honestly like really excited for it because it is a 2D game, 8-bit. It looks like it's Metroidvania. I guess more to be determined and to be confirmed there. But Ninja Gaiden as a sort of like franchise seems really perfectly suited to what they're trying to do as well. A couple of years back, I played this game, Cyber Shadow, I believe, on the Switch. It's another Metroidvania style game that was actually inspired by the original Ninja Gaiden games as well. So this kind of feels like a natural next step for that franchise as far as what they can do. I don't think it's ever, I don't want to say ever, but I don't think it's anytime in the near future that we're going to see, the caliber of a 3D Ninja Gaiden game as we did, like, in the late Xbox era, early 360 era. But this is a nice alternative to this. So I'm really looking forward to seeing more of this game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think moving on, also in the pre-show, One Move Away actually really caught my attention too, mostly because I've been playing Unpacking, where this seems just like the polar opposite. And again, they described it as, a new cozy game, first-person puzzle narrative. But I'm looking forward to it, where there's moving in real life, not the best. But for some reason, it being a puzzle cozy game, that kind of speaks to me, which I would like to check out eventually when it does come out. I believe next year. A lot of 2025 games, which was also really surprising, but also really exciting to see.
I mean, for One Move Away, I am kind of curious. Based on the gameplay that they showed, I do wonder how much of a like physics sim it's going to be. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, that's actually a good point. Yeah,
because it looks it looks like, in the nicest way, it looks like a very kind of like shaky build that you're putting in, or like a shaky packing that you're putting into like these cars and stuff.
Where, I don't know about you boys, but when I have found myself in moving situations, I'm really peculiar about how things are laid out because I don't want things damaged. Where, also based on the trailer, I think our protagonist was stuffing a bit too much into their trunk. That also made me uneasy. But speaking about being made uneasy, guys, what did you think of the Shadow Labyrinth reveal?
I was surprised. Like, when they first showed it, I was like, oh, that's really weird. That thing following this guy around looks a lot like, Pac-Man. Haha, that's funny. And then it actually started Pac-Manning, and I was really, really thrown off with what I was seeing.
I don't know about you guys, but this gave me... Okay, so this is officially coming from Bandai Namco, but this gave me that, this entered public domain, let's turn it into a horror franchise energy that we've been seeing as of late with, the
Oh,
horror
like the
Winnie the
Winnie the Pooh
Pooh,
movies and
yeah,
stuff.
stuff,
Yeah.
where I think it could be cool, but I think it's the premise that's hard carrying it for me. I'd have to keep an eye on it just to see if that's something
Hmm.
I would actually check out because um, I don't know. I liked Metroid games growing up, but boys, to be honest, I don't think I'm that into Metroidvanias anymore.
Hmm. I mean, the
But
game looks
Rakush,
good, I think.
yeah,
But
it
yeah.
does look good. But Rakush, is this something you might keep an eye on?
Yeah, I don't know why they did my boy Pac-Man like that. That's weird. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this game. Not much really about it interesting, except for just like Pac-Man but a monster. So I don't know. Let's see.
Does you know does these reimaginings of classic games do anything for you guys? Like, would you want to see, well, maybe not horror adjacent, these updated reimagining, like alternate takes on classic games? Is that something you can find yourself into, or would you like them to at least have the same spirit of, what you are used to?
I mean, I'm kind of in the middle. Like, I like seeing this sort of like weird kind of what do you call it? Um, like side route. I don't really know what word to use here, but
Reimagining.
yeah, reimagining of like what Pac-Man could be, or what like whatever franchise could be, because like this is pretty interesting. But I do know that sometimes like it does veer into a weird direction. You're like, oh, why did they even do something like this? Like, why
Mhm.
isn't it the same as like what I grew up with?
Yeah,
This is changed and I don't like it.
fair enough, fair enough. I feel like if the spirit's there, that's fine. I think horror, um, Pac-Man. I think that's always been in popular culture to a degree. There was a lot from those online T-shirt shops. I forget the vendor, but it's
Oh
the real
yes.
life astronaut
Hmm.
looking at the three ghosts or the four ghosts,
Hmm.
and yeah, I think this, while out there, is still in the realm of what I it's not as surprising as I thought it would be, just because again, Pac-Man and horror do go hand in hand a certain way. But again, I'm not necessarily the biggest horror guy. I'm not necessarily the biggest Metroidvania guy, so maybe that doesn't do anything for me. But it's nice that it exists, essentially. But Matt,
Hmm.
what else is nice to exist from the Game Awards?
I mean, while we're still in this opening area, I do really, really want to touch on Solasta 2.
Okay.
I am so excited to see Solasta 2. For the people who don't know what this franchise is, it is, in essence, a lighter version of Baldur's Gate. Like, I think if you were
Oh.
to look at Baldur's Gate as the, AAA D&D tactics RPG, this would be like the double A
Hmm.
D&D tactics RPG, because this is
Okay.
using the Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition rule set, or at least the Solasta 1 was using the Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition rule set, and from the previews they are using Dungeons and Dragons spells, but kind of looking at Dungeons and Dragons right now, I am wondering if they're going to be following 5e or if they're going to be following D&D 1, I think is like the new Dungeons and Dragons version.
Okay.
Oh, they're calling it D&D 1?
I think so.
Oh, that's
One
sweet.
D&D. D&D, it's one D&D.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, so
Mhm.
yeah, I believe early access in 2025, free demo coming soon. Matt,
Yes. Hmm.
is this gonna find a place in our next Steam Next Fest episode?
You know it. You know it. Even if it comes before this next Themes Next Fest episode, it's gonna be there too.
For sure, for sure. Actually, before we move on to, I'd argue one of the other big reveals of the episode,
Oh.
just real quick,
Hmm.
rematch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh, Coming from Slow Clap, who, most recently Sifu and Absolver from a few years ago,
Hmm.
where I feel like with Slow Clap, they've made such a name for themselves by doing those combat, hand-to-hand martial arts adjacent games with Absolver, with Sifu. So
Hmm.
for them to, you know, essentially pull a 180 and do a 5v5 take on football, I'm I know the diehard Absolver, the diehard Sifu fans, not the happiest, but I'm actually intrigued just to see that pedigree of, the put so much attention to detail with their combat in, their two previous games, where I'm really curious to see how they apply that to football, how they apply that to a sport. And while I'm guessing the animation will be there, the quality will be there, I think just that idea alone, from going from combat to sports or a more traditional sport, is really intriguing to me. And while I wouldn't want to put, a lot of hours into it, I'm still curious to kind of play it at some point, which is more than I can ever say about EA Football Club or FIFA. So, going to keep an eye on that as well.
Yeah.
It looks like an interesting sort of it's a game that looks inspired from like FIFA Street and Rocket League. Although I know like Rocket League is just football, like, in and of itself, but yeah, it's interesting. I don't know what to make of it. Would like to see a little bit more. Would also like to see, like, it is 5v5, so like I guess the net code, right, for like online play needs to be good. So I am curious how all that stuff plays and looks and stuff. So yeah,
Like, I think overall for me, with regards to like rematch, I'm just so intrigued by the perspective that they're deciding to use for this game, because it is like, it's like an over the shoulder, like behind the back kind of like camera angle with a reticle that I feel like I've never seen for a soccer game before.
yeah,
And
it's like a
Or even like a
third-person
sports
shooter
game,
angle.
yeah.
yeah, even in the sports game in general, actually, yeah. But kind of looking at the fact that Slow Clap is doing this, and I'm like rewatching the trailer right now, and I feel like there isn't a better sport for them to do with
Right.
regards to kind of carrying over the intricacies of like the animations that they did in Absolver and in Sifu, because
Yeah.
kind of looking at this, these are some really nice kicks. These are some nice, like, just like ball handling going on, like ball handling animations. And I don't know, it's actually making me even more hyped to play this game,
Yeah.
considering the Absolver Sifu pedigree. And I'm wondering how much of those systems they're gonna bring into this game.
Not. I'm surprised at how much football we've somehow discussed on the Mistake Zone this year alone, in comparison to years past. But
And I hadn't even been around for this.
don't worry, next year, Rakush, when anime soccer games come out, and who
man.
knows, maybe Captain Tsubasa will be purchased during the winter sale. But
Possibly.
boys, I feel like this was one of the bigger reveals of the night. Rightfully so. We did get our first look, at least cinematic wise, of The Witcher 4, showing off the new protagonist. Well, returning lead character, the protagonist of the game, with Ciri. New voice actress, I believe. But in terms of being a cinematic reveal trailer, thought it looked really nice. And yeah, Matt, are you looking forward to stepping into the world of The Witcher once again?
Personally, no. I was never really been a fan of the Witcher games.
Really?
Yeah.
Was Witcher 3 something we discussed in previous Saturday Morning Arcade? I can't even remember. That was so long ago.
Yeah, that was so long. Like, I think that was more so a thing you probably discussed with Rakush and Julian over me.
Oh,
Because,
fair.
the Witcher games never really clicked for me. But,
Okay.
Rakush, I'm guessing you might have a different outlook on this.
I'm super excited for this game. So I've tried my best, my absolute best, to play the Witcher games. I've put like a solid like 30 hours into Witcher 1 on one playthrough. Did the whole like grind and everything like that. It's just super difficult to actually like finish that game in this day and age. It's one of those games I always like. I mean, I was kind of mentioning this with Dragon Age as well, where it's one of those games that came out at this like weird junction where like mouse and keyboard was still kind of like very much in vogue, while like the consoles were going more towards like the controller kind of control system, right? Um, the Witcher was always a PC game. It was always mouse and keyboard. And, you know, the older I get, the lesser I kind of want to be doing this level of micromanaging and stuff like that the Witcher games do require. And so I tried, and I just really couldn't finish that game. And I honestly like did not want to play 2 and 3 without finishing the story. That's
fair.
where things get a little bit tricky. What I'm really excited with Witcher 4 is it seems like it's a new saga as they announced it. Starring Ciri, who was a part of the trilogy, but the cinematic itself actually feels very much of a callback to like the prologue, like the opening missions in the first Witcher game. And it really just kind of captures the entire emotions and like, you know, just the themes and the tone of what that game was in the cinematic. So if they're trying to go back to its roots, so to speak, where it's, you know, trying to create something that is easily accessible for a new audience, I'm optimistic that you're going to get the same sort of like, you know, Witcher world building experience and stuff like that as well. I'm curious what the gameplay looks like. I am curious, like, you know, how the game plays and looks and feels, everything. CD Projekt Red is coming off of a tough couple of years, you know, with Cyberpunk having honestly one of the more like memorable launches for not good reasons. So I hope they get this one right, and I hope everything is good with this series. But if this is in fact a new saga and it's something that is easily accessible, I absolutely want to play it. I am really excited for this.
Aren't they remaking Witcher 1? Or am I just imagining? Is that a fever dream for me?
To be honest, I haven't been in the loop enough to tell you whether you're right or wrong. If they are, great. Like, I would absolutely play that as well. But it would have to be a full remake. Like, I don't think it's just a remaster that they can do because, again, it's just PC only, right? So I think they would have to make it like a full-on like remake, and I'm not sure they want to put the money towards that right now.
Witcher 1 remake 2026 is what I see right now on a quick Google.
Okay.
A basic.
But, yeah.
Hey, if Witcher 4 does well, right?
But yeah, to your point, you know, CD Projekt Red eventually got there with Cyberpunk. You know, Matt, we talked at length about Phantom Liberty and just where the game is now in 2024, where, of course, that's what's on everyone's mind. After the initial launch of Cyberpunk, no way Witcher 4 goes down that route. And I feel like that team won't let it go down that route as well. I feel like since they were able to salvage Cyberpunk, pretty much has that goodwill returned to them. Is that, yeah, I'm really looking forward to The Witcher 4. And of course, you know me, I put 120 hours into Witcher 3. I'm literally right at the ending. But still haven't gone back. It's been too long, boys. It's been too long.
Hey, did you guys watch the Henry Cavill series on Netflix?
Nope. Have no inkling. I heard season 1 was good, and apparently season 2 doesn't exist.
I got 3 episodes into season 1, and I was like, yep, that's a Witcher.
It's, yeah, I mean, season 1 is fine in the same way Transformers 1 was fine, in that, like, it has promise. It needs to do a little bit more. Season 2 takes a lot more liberties with the story, which I personally have never minded with, any kind of adaptations. You just kind of got to do what you got to do. I think it was fine. It just didn't necessarily improve on anything that season 1 did, in my personal opinion. But it kind of kept, I don't know, like, you know, it was, Henry Cavill was great as The Witcher. I think he did a great job as Geralt. I think season 1 and 2 do a great job of introducing you to all the characters and everything as well. It's a decent starting point. It's a very low investment starting point as well. So I don't think it's the worst time investment. It's also not that long. So yeah, like, you know, I'm super excited for this. I do recommend just check out the Netflix series with low expectations, and I think you'll be fine with it. So yeah.
Moving on, I feel like this was also another, in some circles, another one of the mind-blowing reveals. Even though we didn't really see much, we did see the new project from Fumito Ueda. The developer of Eco and Shadow of the Colossus, codename Project Robot. Boys, that gorgeous trailer, but man, when we saw the character climbing, I immediately knew. You didn't have to put Eco. You didn't have to put Shadow of the Colossus. You didn't have to put third game, which is splitting my mind right now.
Last Guardian.
Last Guardian. Seeing that character climb up that robot, knew instantly where this game was coming from. But
I mean,
Matt, what did you?
Starting to like burst it. Didn't they do the climbing after they said where it's from? Or am I imagining that?
Yeah, no, they did, but
okay.
I feel like you didn't have to include that, where I would know the pedigree instantly from just seeing that climbing. But Matt, what did you think of the Project Robot reveal?
Oh man, Jaren, I'm not one for kind of like teaser trailers like this, but this one got me. Like having the slow reveal of the Eco, Shadow of the Colossus, Last Guardian, and then the dude kind of just climbing this mech. I'm very, very interested in seeing what this game is going to be. And I don't know, I hope it just ends up living up to the mind hype that I have for it.
Matt, how pissed off will you be when you find out that Project Robot is just an expansion of Fortnite?
You know what? Like, maybe I'm gonna start playing Fortnite, I guess.
Fair. Gotta ask, Matt, as the resident robot boy, what did you think of the mech design?
I didn't like the face of the mech. I thought it looked weird, but the overall, everything else about the mech seemed interesting. I kind of liked the. I don't actually know if it was I guess quote unquote spine, but the part that lights up that the character in the trailer is climbing.
The ladders.
Yeah, the ladders looked spine-like to me because of kind of the way they were kind of curling and not perfectly straight. I kind of really liked that aesthetic, but yeah, overall the robot looks good. The face was kind of weird, but I think I can get over that for this series. And also the face was kind of dilapidated. I don't really know what word to use here. It seemed. So, maybe when it's not all messed up looking, it'll look better to me.
Fair.
Are you guys surprised that this is an Epic Games release and not a Sony Studio release?
I mean, to be honest, for me, that didn't really affect anything. I don't know if that's any different for you, Jaren.
Now that you mentioned it, I didn't really clock that. All I saw was beautiful climbing, and that's all that really mattered to me.
I think it's Epic Games. I'm going to look this up, actually. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it said Epic Games presents... Oh, sorry, Epic Games Publishing presents, and then it just kind of goes into the trailer and says Project Robot.
Yeah, I think for me, that doesn't really make too much of a difference. Because to be honest, I think I just didn't know that Sony specifically was the publisher of the older games. Even though now that I'm thinking about it, they were all Sony exclusives at the time that they came out.
Oh, buddy, it was very much... Last Guardian was very much the killer app for the PS3, and then it was for the PS4.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Good old days.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if I said it before, but even with the Epic Publishing, that never necessarily phases me. So as long as the game is able to come out and it does have the vision, the spirit of, even if this is just a spiritual successor of sorts, but a new IP that just tries to stand on its own, as long as it's being made and hopefully to Ueda's vision, then no complaints for me. But moving on, we did see the next co-op adventure from Hazelight Studios, Split Fiction. Matt, are you looking forward to more co-op fun with you and a pal?
This looks so good. It coming from the pedigree of the It Takes Two company is, I don't know, very appealing to me. The gameplay for this trailer or this trailer actually having gameplay in it
Yes.
was so good. Like it was such a strong, I guess, like choice for them to like go with, because it just really got me hyped up for like what I'm going to be doing in the game, especially since It Takes Two itself had such an expansive kind of, I guess, like amount of stuff that you're doing, and seeing that this game looks like it's going to be within that kind of same amount of like random stuff that you're going to be doing is very, very appealing, especially with the kind of mix that they're talking about of, one of these people likes sci-fi, one of these people likes fantasy, so now we're going to be like mixing those two in all of these levels, which sounds very interesting to me.
Yeah, I think just the contrasting visuals is what stood out the most. Going one from fantasy to sci-fi, just whiplashing it back and forth. Really good look. And yeah, the pedigree is definitely there. Looking forward to seeing how this turns out as well. Just because with It Takes Two, previous game of the year winner at the TGAs, sold a bunch of different copies. So I feel like a lot of people will be higher expectations this time around, and I think they'll still be able to match it, and I'm hoping they'll be able to exceed those, just because, really looking forward to another fun co-op experience. Sorry, Rakush, did you have anything to say on it, or?
I got nothing to say about this, Sharon. You know why? Because my friends are all cowards and assholes and refuse to play this game with me because, I'm Matt Alba and I've already played this game once before.
I mean, I'll play it with you if you want to play. Like It Takes Two.
No, it's too late now. It's too late now, Matt. I can't play It Takes Two 5 years later. It's like
It Takes Two holds up. I think.
We
I would
talked
love
about
to
it.
play it. It's just what I initially had asked. I still hold this hurt, Matt. I still hold this hurt.
Wow. You know what? I hope that you really do.
My friends have abandoned me.
I really hope you figure out how to play video games with your feet so that you can co-op that game by yourself.
I actually, when that game won Game of the Year, I remember Googling up, can you play It Takes Two as a single-player game? And one of the lower moments of my life.
Oh, man.
Amazing. Real quick, Matt, Borderlands 4 gameplay, did that do anything for you?
It made me want to play Borderlands 4, but I'm very iffy on if Borderlands 4 is going to do anything for me, because I realized when I was playing Borderlands 3 how important it was for me to find a character that I liked.
Yes.
And in terms of like the gameplay styles that were offered in Borderlands 3, even though they're like, very similar to the other Borderlands games, I never found a character who I actually liked playing as, so I never really progressed that far into Borderlands 3.
No, I know I I spoke about it a bit, I think earlier this year or late last year, just when I bought this season's pass for Borderlands 3 real cheap. And it's true. Once you fall in love with a certain character archetype and play style, and that isn't necessarily there one-to-one, I don't know, it's hard for me, where I love the Necromancer gameplay from 2, and just not being able to have something exactly that in 3 really did it for me. Despite enjoying my time with the DLC, I just couldn't put the same amount of hours in comparison to how much I put for 2.
Yeah.
But Rakush, did Tekken 8 get the right Final Fantasy DLC character?
They got the best Final Fantasy DLC character, dude. That is my favorite Final Fantasy character ever. I'm super happy that he's getting some recognition here.
Rakush?
16 is like... Dude, 16 is my favorite Final Fantasy.
Oh,
that game is so good.
I apologize, Rakush. I thought this was going to go into it should have been Tifa rant, and I apologize for not.
Oh, you picked the wrong person for that one. I'm sorry.
Like, okay, I don't know anything about this character to the point that when I saw this trailer, I didn't know what was going on.
I knew in like 2 seconds because of that music that was playing. Like the moment that song started, I'm like, oh shit, it's him. It's Clive. That's the main playable character of 16, by the way.
Okay.
Seems like they gave him the Phoenix Burst as, I guess, like one of his moves as well. I'm curious to see how the gameplay looks. Have loved all the jokes about Clive in New York City, because 16 is a very sort of like inhabitable wasteland vibe to it, and those strokes have been great. Honestly, like I'm just happy that there's more happening with the 16 characters. I think it's a very underrated game. It does everything right in terms of action. I found the characters were super grounded. I could speak on this for another hour. Like, okay. I know I've already done an episode probably with you guys, but it's great. I'm just happy with this. I'm sorry for ruining your joke there, Jaren.
No, honestly, like, I'm legit surprised where maybe that can be a vault episode, just you going into Final Fantasy 16, because I'm really curious just to see what you think about it now, just because I have heard good things about Final Fantasy 16, but I'm actually just curious to hear actual first-hand impressions from someone I know regarding
Why don't I
that.
save this for the year-end stuff, actually, because I feel like I can speak on this quite a lot, because I only played it earlier this year, so maybe it's something... honestly, this is good inspiration for me to bring this up for the year-end episode, and I could probably spend a little bit of time talking about it there.
I mean, I guess the real question here, though, is, Rakush, is this enough to bring you into Tekken 8?
No. It's a fighting game. Maybe I'll just, like, watch it a lot on Twitch and, like, support it that way. I don't know, but I know what games I can play, and Tekken is not one of those games, so, yeah.
Fair. But, speaking about fighting games and Rakush... what did you think of the 1-2 punch from, the RGG team with the new Virtua Fighter project and then Project Century right after?
Virtua Fighter is also in like that Onimusha category of like, I'm really happy that they're bringing back some of these older franchises that are, of course, nostalgic, but like they've kind of been lost to time a little bit, right? Like, there's a whole generation of younger folks who have not played these games. They don't quite understand, like, the importance of Virtua Fighter, like, and just kind of like the history of gaming and stuff like that, right? So I'm just really happy that that's getting a resurrection. And honestly, I'm also just really happy that the Ryuga Gotoku studio, which is the Yakuza studio, is kind of having this moment as well where they're becoming... I mean, for lack of a better description, they're a little bit Naughty Dog-esque, where it's not just a studio anymore. Like, they're almost like their own brand. It's like a game instantly has a certain appeal to it when you see that logo on it, right? And fair. I think, like, between that and Project Century, which looks like Yakuza in, like, pre-World War I, like, Japan, I guess, or, like, something along those lines, they both look fantastic. And... I'm looking forward to playing Project Century. I'm looking forward to watching Virtua Fighter because it's a fighting game. But yeah, apparently there is also a VF Direct, or was a VF Direct on December 13th that had more information. I'm actually going to go watch it at the end of this episode to see what else has been revealed there.
Okay.
So yeah, like, I mean, it was cool. I was really happy that it seems like the studio is getting a chance to sort of expand outside of Yakuza, while also kind of still doing Yakuza as well. But yeah, it's great stuff. I'm really happy that they're having a moment. I'm happy that Virtua Fighter's having a moment. And yeah, pleasant surprise.
Matt? We'll do some quick hits real quick. Turok Origins, how do you feel about this third-person shooter by Saber Interactive?
Ooh, I am very excited for Turok Origins.
Okay.
Because, admittedly, I don't have much history with Turok. Because I remember, I don't know why, when my cousins are playing Turok, like, on the N64, I was scared. I don't think the game was scary. Like, thinking back to it, I don't remember that game actually being, like, horror-like.
Yeah.
But the trailer for the kind of gameplay style that Turok Origins has is very appealing to me. Because it looks like a kind of like, not necessarily like Monster Hunter-esque, but it's somewhere between like there and a Horde game. That it looks like it has like a nice balance of, hey, like, these enemies aren't exactly fodder. They all matter a little bit. And, you have your big enemies that you're going to be fighting alongside them.
Okay. Real quick, Matt, between Helldivers 2, Omens of Tyranny, and Palworld Feybreak, which game are you most likely to return to?
Palworld Feybreak. I do not think I'm going to be returning to Helldivers 2 ever.
Fair.
Helldivers 2 was like a great game, I think, but I think that it is, not really something that I would play a lot. But I'm looking forward to more monster catching in Feybreak. Building up that world and looking at how they're going to offend Nintendo in this upcoming patch. They're going to be offending like Borderlands in this upcoming patch with like the enemy design style, I think. But
Notably, a lot more guns. Notable lack of not Pokeballs, allegedly. So,
Side note, I absolutely love that the Warframe 1999 person went on stage and was like, "What's Warframe? Even we don't know anymore." I kind of respected that.
I mean, when you've been that long in the free-to-play space, I think that's understandable and should be applauded. Moving on, I think speaking about tonal whiplash, where we have the 1-2 punch of the first Berserker, Kazan, and then we have Arad, Dungeon and Fighter. Matt, what are these two games and how are they in the same universe?
I mean, to be honest, the whole time that I was watching these trailers, Rakush was asking me the exact same things. I don't know how they're in the same universe. I think, it makes sense that they're in the same universe. It's both fantasy. They both have something to do with Dungeon and Fighter.
I know it's a name I've seen growing up. And again, this expanded universe has been expanding recently with the fighting game, with... I forget. I believe there's one other title, but I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, again, just seeing the jarring whiplash of the first Berserker and then going into what seems to be another Genshin Light, too much for my small head. Rakush, are you going to check any of these games out?
No, but just to describe the whiplash, the first Berserker Kazan had a little bit of an Osiris Rat style, like, cinematic or like something along those lines, where it's like this very like serious and like very sort of like intense looking cutscene, and then it cuts like the most anime ass like Genshin Impact thing you can imagine in Arad Dungeon and Fighter. And then as I'm watching that cutscene, like Kazan apparently pops up in that one in an entirely different style as well, and I'm like, what the like there was some serious whiplash with that. No, I'm not going to try either of them out. It was just a funny moment in this game. Or in this show.
Moving on, I know there was a lot of announcements, but I think starting to wrap things up, Matt. New co-op FPS heist game from the creator of Payday, so we have to mention. Matt, what did you think of the Den of Wolves gameplay trailer?
It looks interesting. It has a very interesting aesthetic to it that I feel like isn't kind of really touched upon in this kind of game, or in like most games, I guess, and especially in this genre, where it's almost like, I want to say it's like a step before Cyberpunk becomes Cyberpunk. I don't really know like what it's like. It's like I don't know, gritty mech stuff, and I don't know. It looks very interesting. Like like you said, it is going to be from the one of the creators of Payday, and this has been on my radar for a while.
Okay.
Their other game, GTFO, has never really appealed to me because it is so, stealth focused. But this kind of looking like it is going to have elements of stealth, but touching on, more elements of gunplay and heisting is far, far more interesting to me. And I'm really excited by both its, I guess, gameplay potential and its aesthetic. I think the thing that really messed me up for it is that on its trailer, it says, hey, early access in 22 and then ...
Oh,
which
yeah, that game.
I I absolutely hated that tease.
Yep. Hate it. Matt, over under, how likely will someone yell at me for messing up, duplicating a key, and how likely will you have to convince them not to kick me out of the game?
I mean, Jaren, I think the likeliness of that is 0 because I know that me and you are not going to play this game with strangers.
You know me too well, Matt. You know me too well, Matt.
Uh-huh.
You know what we also know very well?
Oh, sorry, what's that?
Cart games. Boys, we got our first look at Sonic Racing Cross Worlds with Shadow in a car. What second character do you want to see in this game?
Football Manager.
Oh man.
Bring him back.
Football Manager was in the last one, correct?
He was in Sega All-Stars Racing.
Yes.
Oh man.
Also, honestly, love the fact that Jeff Keighley called this a legendary franchise.
I mean, do you not think that the Sonic Racing franchise is legendary, Rakush?
It's just that, like, fan favorite, it's like, something nostalgic franchise, something like that. Calling it a legendary franchise, it's like, man, come on, Jeff. Come on, Mr. Keighley.
What other game can you have Sonic race against the Football Manager?
Sega All-Stars.
I want Altered Beast in this.
Altered Beast would be good.
And their car has to transform. It's very important to me that their car transforms.
That would be good, yeah.
I'm still butt mad that... Matt, remember when we goofed that in a Sonic racing game, it would be Sonic running in a cardboard car? Still mad that's not a thing.
There needs to be Sonic in a car and Sonic not in a car. Oh.
I think this might be one of the last things we talk about. But Matt, we're obligated to talk about some Zenless Zone Zero. We got a trailer with some characters that I think I immediately messaged you, Matt, saying, "Oh no, my Miyabi fun." Matt, who are these characters and why should I be saving for them?
We have one of the first characters that is introduced in the trailer, Ashura Yao, the singer, part of the Idol faction, who is going to be, our S-Star Ether support. And that sucks for Nicole, I think, because... Actually, you know what? I think it doesn't suck for Nicole, because I saw her leaked move set, or her, leaked, I guess, how she's going to work, and she doesn't work anything at all like Nicole, so I don't think Nicole gets power creeped here.
Okay.
But, she does have a heal in her kit, which is wild for Zenless Zone Zero, I think.
That's crazy.
But, she's going to be there singing and, kind of doing a lot of support. And then the second character they showed off was Evelyn. I am so sorry to Soldier 11. I really, really, really wanted Soldier 11 as my fire attacker. But Evelyn with her rope, basically kunai with Shane, but ninja knife on a string is actually a weapon aesthetic that I've always really, really liked. And
it's not a whip? I thought it was a whip.
No, it's not a whip. It's kind of the ninja kunai on a thin string, and that's how she attacks. And the core attack animations are amazing. I don't have a fire attacker because I don't consider Bernice to really be the fire character that I need. Or as her own individual fire character. So
Bernice procs are synergies is how I see her.
Yeah, I need an actual fire character, and this is a very nice add to the roster. Jaren, I'm gonna be so tight on Polychrome these next coming.
We just have to take trips to Japan is all I'm going to say.
Man. I mean, even with the trips to Japan, it's going to be rough, Jaren. We have Miyabi in 1.4. Yep. We have Ashtra in 1.5. We have Evelyn in 1.5. 1.6 is going to be apparently starting the, the idols. And I know one of the idols is an ether anomaly, which I have to roll on. And, if they're going to start doing rerolls or, limited banner, kind of what do they call it, Jaren, when it comes back?
Just reruns, yeah.
Yeah, reruns. When they do reruns on the limited banners, gotta roll for Caesar. And maybe Lighter. I threw 50 into Lighter before his thing went away and I didn't get anything, so I'm just waiting on Miyabi now.
Wait, Matt, should I be rolling for Lighter?
I think just Lighter is actually a very good stun agent because he's basically an off-field stun, right? So, whereas every other stun character needs to be basically on field to do their thing, Lighter being an off-field stun is actually very appealing to me. I actually really like the off-field characters a lot. Bernice, I guess Lighter, upcoming Miyabi can be played as an off-field almost. Ashura Yao is going to basically be an off-field. This is an archetype that really appeals to me because it lets me, basically only have to learn how to play one character, and then you just press a button to pull somebody back in.
That's how I want to play my video games. But yes, wallet not safe for Zenless Zone Zero. But moving on, we did see Aaron Paul and Laura Bailey on stage to show off Dispatch, which this isn't a Telltale game, right? It has Telltale energy, but it's not a Telltale game.
Yeah, it has strong Telltale energy. I do not
Yes.
think this is a Telltale game.
Okay. But coming to Steam 2025, Matt, is this up your alley?
This is so far up my alley that I it needs to move in. Like I'm very interested in this. Like it has a interesting concept to it. It doesn't come from, a pre-existing franchise that's going to have, or at least to my knowledge, it doesn't come from a pre-existing franchise. I don't know if that's actually true or not. Now that I'm saying this with my mouth.
I don't think so. Yeah.
But yeah, like not coming from a pre-existing franchise and it kind of having like kind of I think a unique take on the story it's trying to tell, or like a unique story in general, makes it very appealing to me. And I don't know, it looks interesting, and it's been a while since I played a Telltale like.
Fair. In addition to strong Telltale energy, it looked like, what's that one Amazon show that everyone loves, Invincible? Or
yes.
yeah, I thought this was in that universe, but I guess not. But yeah, I'm really curious to see how this plays, just because I don't know. I haven't been able to scratch that Telltale itch as of late. I don't know when Wolf Among Us 2 is coming out, so I think definitely something to look forward to. But Rakush, any thoughts on Dispatch?
I'm interested in it as well. I think the art style is really unique for a video game. I think the pedigree of Aaron Paul, Laura Bailey, these actors do have some pedigree to them, so I think they're bringing something interesting to this. It's also just unique. It's fresh, I guess, is what I'm going with here. Something interesting. So I know you guys mentioned the Telltale kind of similarities. This is being developed and published by Ad Hoc Studios, which was founded in 2018 with industry veterans from Ubisoft, Night School Studio, and Telltale Games.
Fair.
So that explains a little bit of why there is some of that element of familiarity to what we're seeing in this game here.
I just googled Ad Hoc Studio, and one of the starting results is the Wikipedia page for Telltale Games.
Incredible.
And yeah, they have Wolf Among Us 2 for 2024, but I don't believe that came out.
Nope.
I mean, 2024 isn't over, so
Fair. Surprise?
Nope.
Maybe. You heard it here first, allegedly.
Well, apparently Telltale back in October confirmed that it's not canceled, so they've got 15, 16 days left to release it.
That's
as
probably
of
the
this
time to
recording.
release the game.
Yeah. That's how games work.
I'm sure of it.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, as someone with programming experience, you open up a text file and you put program game, correct? And hit enter.
Just game go, and that's basically it.
Nice. Looking forward to Wolf Among Us 2. But what I'm really looking forward to, I think the final announcement of the show, new Naughty Dog game, the reveal trailer of Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. Rakush, right away we saw heavy product placement.
So much.
And even after this was revealed, we are seeing that this will take heavy inspiration from Akira, heavy inspiration from, that specific
Cowboy Bebop and Akira.
Anime.
Sorry. Guys, am I dumb? Because, I know you said there's a lot of product placement, and I'm scrubbing through the trailer right now, and the only one I think I've noticed is the Porsche, and maybe McDonald's, if this is McDonald's.
There was Porsche, there was Adidas, there was, I believe there was a few different things on the monitor, correct, Rakush?
Yeah, I'm looking up the trailer right now as well, just because, I just remember, I think the Porsche one was the big one for me as well, but, yeah, just kind of scrubbing through it right quick.
Sony listening device, yeah.
I don't think this is McDonald's now that I'm looking at it, but now I'm not sure. But anyway, you should go back to your actual breakdown of Intergalactic.
Rakushi said, I think I said anime of the like or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's interesting. I do feel like it's a very sort of like curated nostalgic experience, if that makes sense. Like there's a lot of these out there nowadays as well. It's kind of Stranger Things-esque where they know exactly like, you know, what sort of brands they need to hit. There's this like retro Sony logo thing happening around the 3-minute 20-second mark. CDs. Fuck, I can't believe CDs are part of retro, but I guess they're part of retro. Yeah, so like, you know,
They're old,
there's
man. They're
like
old.
it's right, yeah. Like we're talking about, you know, today I'm old, right? But it's interesting. The funniest thing about this is like I was messaging Matt when The Last of Us 2 remaster was announced for the PS5. I'm like, man, they need like a new IP soon. They can't just keep like releasing the same shit over and over. And then like an hour later, they did have this. So you know, credit to them, I guess. I'll play it. It looks very interesting. It's not a zombie game, so I will play it. Yeah, what were your thoughts on it, Jaren? Because like I know you're also a little bit of a fan of sort of like that retro fashion and like anime culture and stuff like that too, a little bit. So yeah, just kind of curious.
No, definitely something that is more in my wheelhouse. Where Naughty Dog, as a developer, has created some games that I've enjoyed. But to be honest, as much as I love Uncharted, as much as I love Last of Us, not necessarily, you know, I respect those games. They're not my favorite games per se. But I think just going off aesthetic, going off vibes from this trailer alone, you know, lifts off a lot of different and just, you know, anime style or an aesthetic that I do enjoy, where I'm most curious to see how the gameplay works, just because we do see, you know, our protagonist take out a sword, a stylized sword, that people were asking if, oh, is the laser blade, you know, reminiscent of, you know, volume bars or whatever. So just to see if there is even a musical aspect to that. Can this be a Hi-Fi Rush adjacent game? But that's the thing. What's up?
You know what? I just realized with kind of like the way the aesthetic for this game works, what if instead of Hi-Fi Rush adjacent, it is No More Heroes adjacent?
Honestly, I wouldn't complain.
If you're telling me I'm a space bounty hunter mercenary taking different contracts and has more tighter gameplay, I'd be all for it. I'd literally be all for that. That's the biggest thing I want to know, because it sold me on its look. It sold me on what we saw of this character. I just need to know, is this a quote unquote open world game? Is it a character action game? Is it more cinematic, like an Uncharted, like, you know, one of those curated stories? So that's what I'm most excited to see, to learn more about, just because I'm already one foot in the door. I just want to make sure the gameplay backs it up as well. But Matt, final word on Intergalactic.
I'm so weirded out by this game as a whole. Because, you know, like for the most part, like I'm okay with the aesthetic. I'll be honest, it doesn't really do much for me, but
Sure.
you know, kind of when they transition from the, I guess, like cinematic half of the trailer to like the very end half of the fight, I got the biggest whiplash in terms of, I guess, like what I was expecting that to be, because kind of like based on, you know, the in-ship portion of the trailer, I never would have guessed that the main character would, in essence, have a sword. And it just seems so weird to me, especially with the pedigree of a Naughty Dog. Because, you know, just in my head, Naughty Dog is so much more of a cinematic studio that I wonder how this type of gameplay is going to work. Because I feel like, you know, I've never really seen anything of this gameplay style, like I guess like a sword swinging style of game that is particularly cinematic. Like, I don't think that like this is going to, you know, again, like touching from, you know, the very start of this episode, I don't think this is going to go towards the Souls style of gameplay, and I feel like it wouldn't go towards, you know, the kind of arcadey Onimusha style of gameplay. So I'm wondering how they're going to thread this needle, because, you know, just in my head, Naughty Dog has such a or I guess more specifically like recent Naughty Dog of like, Uncharted, Last of Us, like kind of style, has such a
It's methodical in a way,
Yeah.
or maybe that might be a lack of a better term, but it is more cinematic as opposed. You're playing I don't mean to say this in an offensive way, but I feel like Naughty Dog games are paced like you're playing a cinematic, and
Yeah.
there's that movie quality to it where, yeah, when I think about Sword, I think about fast pace. I either think of Dante or I think of a lightsaber, and those are pretty in there where how do you yeah, maybe it's just because I'm not playing a lot of games of that style, but what does a more cinematic sword fight look like? And is that a lot of parries? Is that a lot of dodges? So yeah, I'm really curious to see how it plays.
I could see it going a little bit of like a little bit in the direction of like what Metal Gear Rising was like, and also a little bit of what Horizon was. Horizon specifically being a Sony franchise as well. I would not be shocked if the studios are kind of exchanging notes on these things as well. I know that's like a big part of just how like like console exclusive are developed and stuff too, right? So I can definitely see a little bit of that. But yeah, like I do see where you're going with that thought of like, is this going to be cinematic like these Naughty Dog games have been in the past, right? Now, I will say Last of Us was way more cinematic than Uncharted was. Uncharted still had enough of a gameplay element to it that felt a little bit faster paced, more of a curated faster paced, but yeah.
I mean, Nathan Drake did kill hella dudes.
Yeah, he's a lot, yeah. No, it's interesting, man. Like, I think it's going to be fun to kind of like, keep an eye out on this one and to see more of the gameplay reveal. I was saying earlier, like, how certain studios are just like brands in and of themselves now. Naughty Dog's absolutely that, right? Like, you see Naughty Dog's releasing a Sony game and it's like, you pay attention kind of thing. So I am curious to see this. At the very least, I am optimistic that like the actual quality of the game will be fine, even if the story ends up being boring or whatever. So should be interesting. The thing that was jarring for me more than anything else, and this is where I thought you were gonna go, Matt, is the aesthetics being so different as far as like the color contrast goes from like what was inside the spaceship to what's on the planet itself. That really stood out to me as a little bit weird. I want to see a little bit more of what this world is supposed to be, what this universe is supposed to be, I guess. And last minor gripe, I know it's kind of contradicting what I've been saying about Naughty Dog being a brand, but could we maybe just call video games and not new franchises? Because that happened a lot in this like Game Awards, and it happened with this one as well, where I'm like, we've seen 4 minutes of a brand new IP, like, can we just call it a game instead of a franchise? Let the franchise thing happen naturally.
I see what you mean in terms of semantic. Yeah, I know where you're coming from, but I think at the same time, we're also at the age of, or a time in gaming of how many remakes are there, how many sequels, how many remasters, where, I get where you're coming from, but I also do...
You're right that it's semantics.
Yeah, I feel like, honestly, I think franchise is basically just the replacement buzzword for IP, like at this point.
Yeah.
And
I just wish like sometimes games were still treated as games and not as like business things. Because to me, like franchise is a very businessy sort of like, thing. So yeah. And that's foolish of me to ask in this day and age, but yeah.
It's all right. Velatro in the indie space will save us, Rakush. But yeah, I think that was Beefy Boy episode, boys. We went through pretty much all of the announcements. You know what? I bet for all the sickos out there, you can probably slice this up and put this against the actual Game Awards, and there's your live reactions.
Man, I really wish that we recorded a live reaction for this, just because of like how many huge announcements there were, or like I think maybe huge is like overselling it, but like solid announcements there were for this Game Awards.
Guys, I just want to point out something that just hit me right now, an hour 45 into this recording. We didn't actually talk about who won any awards.
That doesn't matter. It's the Game Awards. Who's going to talk about that garbage?
Honestly, the non-announcement I wanted to talk to was when Mr. Keighley brought out Mr. Kojima.
Oh,
and
man.
that I
or the
messaged you
person
right
we
away.
think is Mr. Kojima.
Yes.
I prayed I prayed so hard that Mr. Kojima was being brought out to present Content Creator of the Year because Matt, if that happened, if that
Oh
happened,
man.
and our girl Usada Pikara was deemed the winner, the rats we would be fed for years, man. We would be eating good.
I was so ready for that. I was so ready for Kojima to present that award to Pecora and basically Yago, who was also there too. But,
Yes.
oh man.
Guys, I have a theory. I do not think that was the real Hideo Kojima.
Yes. I can get behind this theory.
Okay, because like
Sell me on
his
your rat,
hair-
Rakush.
I don't know if I want to call it a rat, but like, listen, Hideo Kojima made an entire franchise of video games based on like, you know, characters that aren't actually the characters they think they are and stuff like that, right? So what if this is not actually Hideo Kojima and Hideo Kojima just sent like a doppelganger of himself and like completely mind wiped the doppelganger while like Kojima's like, you know, by himself. It's just that it's not the same body shape as Kojima in years past. His hair looked different. He had more wrinkles on his face. Don't tell me he was getting older. I don't think it's that.
I think another thing.
I think this was a fake Kojima.
And I think to add on to your rat. Sorry, Rakush. To add on to your rat, I also think it's not real Kojima because I feel like, you know, if real Kojima was there, I think Jeff Keighley would have featured him in more stuff rather than just, you know, presenting one award.
Exactly. Also, when those two old puppets, I forget their names.
Slatter and Waldorf.
Yes, Slatter and Waldorf. When they're like, does Kojima even know that he's friends with Jeff Keighley? He didn't really have much of a reaction to that, did he? He just kind of sat there. He's like, oh, okay. I don't think a real Kojima would have reacted like that.
I feel like that was a language thing. I always feel like that was a language thing. But
no, listen, you're giving that's headcanon, Matt. Like, this is the theory here, you know? I'm just building a theory here. You got to support me on this.
Also, you know, while we're still on the like talking about them, at the start, I was like kind of like face palming at the Muppets being there. They were very good ads. I think they added a lot of good jokes to that show.
What was that early joke about the sellout?
Oh man, I can't remember exactly. I don't want to like ruin it by like, you know, saying it poorly.
Yes.
That was a good joke.
There's
That was a
probably
good joke.
a montage on YouTube right now to go through all of them. So that Jeff Keighley, good sport because some of those were some zingers, and I feel like we have to mention because I was cooking while the Game Awards was happening, and that Harrison Ford moment,
Ooh.
Oh
I
my
dropped
God.
my spatula
Ooh.
and my stomach started to hurt.
Oh man. You know, sometimes the teleprompter doesn't always you know, work out properly.
How high do you think he was for that?
Rakush, I hope he was high because if he wasn't, you know he absolutely did not want to be there. So
He never looks like he wants to be anywhere for what it's worth. He's really good at looking like that at this age of his.
But at the Video Game Awards specifically in 2024, I hope he was high. I really do.
Did he even know where he was, or was it just like, you know, his grandson like, Gramps, you got to come with us to this thing? He's like, okay.
Also, you know, I guess like speaking about you know, just before Harrison Ford went up.
Oh my God. Oh.
There was a very sad moment that me and Rakush witnessed of you know, kind of Jeff Keighley kind of like talking about, hey, all the people who are going to be here or who are here at the show, and you know, he kind of like
Just
pointed
giving
out,
his flowers to people.
yeah, and you know, he's like, you know, shouting everybody out, gives like the point to Ken Kutaragi, and I feel like there was just like, you know, that language barrier thing there, and it just crushed my heart to see him get up from his chair, try to like walk down, and then nothing coming of it.
There was like 5 seconds of applause. Like everyone was like, you know, giving him a raucous ovation. He stands up. So first I'm like, oh, he's just going to wave to the audience. And then he's like fixing his suit. And I'm like, what is he doing? And he starts walking. I'm like,
oh,
no. Ken-san, no. And like, he just, also, the camera stays on him way too long because then it cuts to a wide shot.
Yeah.
And then it shows him stop. Like, just awkwardly stop. And it stays on that shot for another few seconds. And I'm like, guys, oh my God, so awkward.
It was rough.
You know who wasn't awkward? Who I want to give some flowers to? Flute Guy.
Oh man.
During the Game of the Year orchestra performance, because that dude was absolutely crushing it.
Do you guys think he was hooked up to a mic?
He was double holding a flute, dude.
But do you think he was hooked up to a mic?
I don't know. He didn't even have the music sheet.
Yeah, he did have sheet music, which was a really good ad.
Oh yeah, sheet music.
3 years now. He's there for. He has to be there for vibes at this point. He has to.
Man.
I
love that guy.
This is the first year I've actually noticed him. You're saying he was in the past couple of years?
Oh, he's been a staple for I think the last 2-3 years now.
Oh,
At
that's
least
sick.
3 years. At least 3 years. I don't want to speak for her, but guys, am I the only one who feels bad for Ella Purnell being there?
Dog, she didn't get a chance to say anything.
Yeah, I thought she was going to say something when she went up for, what was that, Fallout.
Thank you for the charity work, Ella. I really appreciate it from us gamers. But yeah, that was the Game Awards this year.
Also,
what's up?
Sorry,
Rakush?
side note. You mentioned Ella Purnell. The fake Kojima has a clip online of him going and meeting Ella Purnell as well. And I'm like, does Ella Purnell know who Kojima is? And like, does fake Kojima know who Ella Purnell is? It was a really funny clip.
I like the concept of Kojima being an Ella Purnell fan, and if that is true, I expect it to show up in Death Stranding too.
Yes.
10,000%, yeah. Also, there's this clip of Kojima doing a 360 scan for Intergalactic, so I'm guessing he's in that game.
Fair.
It's been turned into a meme already.
I mean, you know, they have like the, what do you call it, Kojima model from Cyberpunk, so you know it can always bring that into other games.
So that's
fair enough.
Again, another little notch on my investigation here. Why would they need to scan the real Kojima if they've already got a scan of Kojima in the video game industry somewhere? You know, open your third eye,
Guys, it's what they say. Your podcast either dies or it runs long enough for it to be a conspiracy podcast, and hate to see it, boys.
We're never gonna die.
But this was a Beefy Boy episode, but there's only one way to end a Beefy Boy episode. With a round of Don't Match Me. Matt, it was me this week, correct?
I sure hope so.
Yep. So
I'm gonna make it a bit to keep promising that I'll make one of these one day.
one day. But until that day, Don't Match Me is a challenge where one of us, me this week, will bring 5 questions, 5 categories to the episode. And all you, as the listener, have to do is think of an answer that doesn't match my answer. If you want to do extra level of challenge, you can also try not to match both Matt and Rakush's answers as well. Where, since this is a audio program, an audio diary, if you don't know an answer, you know, simply hit pause, look it up, find something, and hope your answer doesn't match mine. But in the spirit of the Keigleys, or the Keigleys for 2024, I have yet another video game award adjacent Don't Match Me challenge. And to start off, let's, hit up Google and type in Spike Video Game Awards, because even though this was the 10th anniversary of the TGAs, before the TGAs, this was the Spike Video Game Awards, who also ran for 10 years.
Oh, no.
So we'll start things off going through some of the history of not only the Keigleys, but the Spike Keigleys, which I don't think Jeff Keighley was involved with the Spike Game Awards until later. But for now, let's start off with something simple. Name any Spike Video Game Awards award. Just any category, any award that has been presented at the Spike Video Game Awards for its entire 10-year run. So name any Spike Video Game Award in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Friends, if you said Game of the Year, you're out.
Ooh. You know what? I didn't even see that on the list somehow.
That's a good one.
Oh man, I went with best song in a game.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that was gonna be my. Okay.
That's actually a very unique category. I feel. Like.
I was gonna go with that one. I was actually gonna go with that one, but I decided to go with one that actually is amusing to me. Best performance by a human male.
Ooh.
as opposed to any other male, I guess.
Oh man,
Has to be human.
That's
Only
Has to be a
humans.
human male, yeah.
Okay, moving on. The very first Spike Video Game Awards was in 2003, and boys, they named Madden NFL 2024 or 2004 as Game of the Year. So in that regard, name any Spike Video Game Award 2003 Game of the Year nominee.
2003?
Yep, the very first Spike TV or Spike Video Game Awards. Name
Okay.
any Game of the Year nominee from 2003.
damn, you
I
nailed
already know
it
which
hard.
one not to go for.
Because let's face it, boys. While our friends are thinking, seeing Madden NFL 2004 as Game of the Year, how does that make you feel?
More on this next week, I guess, when I'm going to talk about the Madden documentary.
Okay, fair. But
Ooh.
name a Spike Video Game Award 2003 Game of the Year nominee in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I went with The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker.
Oh, I'm surprised you went with that one.
Yes.
I'm surprised you went with that
I'm
one.
surprised you went with that one too, because I thought I was gonna be out.
Okay.
Because I went with SSX3.
Ooh.
Oh,
good game.
okay.
Rakush?
I went with Knights of the Old Republic. Jaren, I thought you were going to go with Tony Hawk's Underground.
Ooh.
Boys, that was... Which game should have took this award in
Vice
2020?
City.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Vice City. Vice City definitely up there.
Oh god.
Matt, is Wind Waker a 2003 Game of the Year winner?
I honestly don't think so, especially for 2003. I think
Fair.
Yeah.
I think people didn't like Wind Waker until it became ironically cool to like Wind Waker. And then it just became normal
Sure.
cool to like Wind Waker.
I think, yeah, like Wind Waker, it took until the Wii U re-release for it to become... I think it was a Wii U re-release, but it took until that for people to actually kind of like more broadly accept it as opposed to like a cult following. Jaren, I got an interesting fact for you about the 2003 awards.
Okay.
Did you know that there was apparently a tag team wrestling match featuring WWE wrestlers Rey Mysterio, Chris Jericho, Trish Stratus, and Victoria at this award show?
I honestly don't remember. I probably watched this, to be honest. I probably watched this, but I don't remember that wrestling match.
I want to look it up afterwards.
So do I. But moving on, now that I opened the floodgates with Madden NFL 2004, simple. Name a Spike Video Game Award Game of the Year winner. Just name a Spike Video Game Award Game of the Year winner. There are only 10. Madden NFL 2004 being one of them, but name a game that has won a Spike Video Game Award Game of the Year award.
Okay.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I said BioShock.
Well, I lost.
You got me.
I lost.
You got me.
Damn, did we all get it?
Oh.
Wow.
Oh man, my bad, boys.
Now. That's
You know what?
the first double kill of on Don't Match Me.
Oof. Damn,
Again,
that
another
kept
good year.
being right.
Another good year of Game of the Year nominees. Halo 3, Mass Effect, Bioshock, and Orange Box.
Ooh, that's a
Orange
solid
Box
year.
I think Orange Box is weird as a nominee.
I see it. Yeah, I understand it. But those other four, I think, are like absolutely good nominees. 2008's not a joke either, man. GTA 4, Fallout 3, Gears of War 2, Little Big Planet, and MGS 4.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Man, there's just good
It used to be a
years.
proper country.
Okay, round four. At this point, you might have, if you still have the Wikipedia page open, hit Control F and type in the word host, because name a Spike Video Game Awards host.
There is so much host. I am hitting Ghost so often. Ooh.
It has to be a host, not a guest presenter.
Yes, it has to be a host. So, name a Spike. I keep saying Spike TV, but it is the Spike Video Games Awards But name a Spike Video Game Awards host in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I went with one that I definitely watched and remember watching, Jack Black.
Ooh.
Oh, is that the year Brutal Legend got announced?
That was the year our boy Jack Black paid tribute to Tim Schwafer, and I saw notable confusion from the audience.
Amazing.
I went with Snoop Dogg,
There.
What year was that?
2004, which is
Ah.
so
I
yeah.
So
remember
he wasn't Uncle Snoop yet. He was just still like late stage Snoop.
I remember that because this was still in the era of, I feel like the Spike Video Game Awards would only award people who showed up, and I believe Snoop Dogg won for his role in Def Jam Fight for New York.
Oh,
Amazing.
That
They need to
year.
bring that game back.
oh man.
They do.
You know what? They need to
Rakush,
rack Blood in the Stand.
they do
What's
too
that?
as well.
50 Cent Blood in the Sand.
Oh man, I'm gonna go watch a video on that one soon.
So-
I went with Neil Patrick Harris from 2010.
Ooh.
Also, actually, fun fact: if I'm sure if you peruse the Mistake Zone blog, the Saturday Morning Arcade blog, I think there's the one of the game awards that he hosted. I think I wrote something about how much I didn't like it,
Amazing.
so it's somewhere there.
I was surprised to see that Samuel L. Jackson hosted the awards for like 3 years in a row.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, and finally, even though this was Spike Video Game Awards adjacent, we have to shout out Mr. Keighley himself. He started working on the Spike Video Game Awards towards the end, and then he spun it off to the Game Awards that we all know today. So we have to shout him out in the only way that I can, in that, boys, was your first introduction to Mr. Keighley from a Canadian program called The Electric Playground as well?
Hell yes.
Probably.
With Tommy Tallarico.
Where, I have to ask, name another correspondent or cast member from The Electric Playground other than Mr. Keighley.
Ooh.
I guess I just gave my answer.
So name another person that was on The Electric Playground other than Mr. Keighley. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I went with Jade Raymond.
Ooh.
That was a good one.
That was the only one I knew on here, so that I picked her too.
You guys think go Tommy Tallarico?
Rakush, I feel like I don't want to say his name because at this point I feel like he'll be mean to me somehow.
Oh man.
I guess there's also like Victor Lucas.
Shout out to she's still at it, I believe.
Really?
And I think the Electric Playground exists in some capacity these days.
Huh.
So shout out to the Electric Playground. Shout out to Mr. Keighley. Shout out to Snoop Dogg. And yeah, that was another. Matt, I apologize for this BB Boy episode where a lot of announcements. But I guess just final thoughts on the Game Awards 2024. Matt, before you go, just one sentence review.
I enjoyed it. Good Game Awards. 8.7 out of 10.
I love the use of commas. Rakush, one sentence review of the 2024 Game Awards.
I'll be here next year.
Fair enough. I want to thank one of my best friends in the whole wide world, Matt Alba, for joining me this week, editing this podcast, and especially editing this podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Jaren. As always, I want to thank you for hosting the Mistake Zone and giving us our Don't Match Me this week and our first double kill in Don't Match Me.
Oh man, I feel like that time Rakush got the pentakill in League. Sure,
Man,
that's how I feel right now.
that's how you feel right now? I'm glad you get that sensation.
I want to thank our boy Rakush for also joining us this week and, just also contributing to the conversation because, man, if this was just me and Matt this year, I don't know. Might not be as high quality as this episode. So thanks, Rakush.
It's all good, man. I'm only here to ask you questions such as how many R's are in your greetings. You know?
All right, that happened. It's been a long episode. I want to thank Al Purnell. I want to thank Mr. Keighley. I want to thank Pekaro. I want to thank...
Why'd you whisper Al Purnell there? Who's listening in?
Honestly, Rakush, I am paranoid that I said her name wrong, so I'm just going with it. I'm just going with it.
You gotta speed through it so it sounds right to everybody.
I want to thank Balastro. I want to thank... Now, who else should we thank?
The Game of the Year, Astrobot.
Oh,
I want to thank Astrobot.
You know, we didn't mention it. We gotta thank Star Wars Outlaws now with improved gameplay.
Now with improved gameplay. Okay.
Oh, man.
That game apparently had... There was so many bugs that the marketing department decided, you know what, there's so many fixes now, so we're now going to advertise it with improved gameplay. Not in like a Game of the Year edition or anything like that. Just their regular version of the game, now with improved gameplay. Classic. Oh my god.
Matt, take it away.
This is in Mistake Zone, and we're all out of the real Hideo Kojima.